Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
What it is, what's going on, everybody? It's Thursday night, and you know what it is, y'all. It's time to talk Bears football. You got your man, the Bishop, and his partner in crime, Mr. D Nice. We are going to give it to you tonight. Look, tonight we're going to have some fun. The topic is a very interesting topic. It could be a little, for some, it might be a little volatile, but we're going to make the best of it. But I'm here to say, first and foremost, thank you very much for spending the time to join us tonight. With that being said, I'm going to ask you to do one thing for us, please. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this content, because guess what? This content's for you. We do this for you. We enjoy talking Bears football, but we want you to join in, be part of the chat. Make sure you give us your thoughts. Let us know how you feel, and we will have some fun tonight.
Yes,
Welcome
indeed.
to everybody out there. D Nice, what's going on, baby? How you doing?
Cool. It's all good, man. Glad to be up in here talking Bears football. You know what I'm saying? Talking about what's to come in Bears football. You know, and trying to vibe with the fans, man. Trying to hear what
Yeah.
the people got to say.
Yeah, I've been gone, 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Man, I miss you guys, man. It's time to chop it up. It's time to get busy with it. So, first and foremost, y'all, as we know, we're literally weeks away from training camp. I cannot believe it, and I cannot wait. We are weeks away from training camp. With that being said, that means that we're not too far away from the start of the season. So we are getting ready to play some football. So with that being said, D Nice, tonight's topic is talking about 5 Bears players in make it or break it season. What's your thoughts on that topic, first of all?
It is definitely a controversial one, man. But it's definitely a conversation that has to be had, because in the reality, this is the reality for some of these guys. You know, we got guys that haven't lived up to the promise as draft picks, and we got guys who have not lived up to their promise as free agents. You know, when we got them on the free agent line, you know, in past seasons. So, hey, everybody has that time where they meet their maker. So, you know,
Ooh, meet the
hey,
maker.
yeah,
Ooh, are we going there?
yeah.
Are we going there? Meet the
I
maker.
mean,
So
as
since
a
you done
bear,
served it up like that, man, I'm gonna dive in if you don't mind. Can I go ahead and dive in?
hey, man, absolutely.
We may have a special guest that may join us. Hopefully he does. Find the opportunity to go ahead and chime in and jump in with us. But in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing started. And if he does, we're gonna circle it back so we can get his input on this as well. But we're gonna
Yes,
start
indeed.
off with first talking about one of the key players. Since you heard D Nice sit up and mention about not living up to their contract, I'm going to hand this one off to you, my brother. I'm gonna do my Caleb Williams handoff to you. And that first player we're gonna talk about is no other than Mr. Tremaine Edmunds, linebacker for the Chicago Bears, who is currently playing on a 4-year, $72 million contract. Now,
Yeah.
there's been some speculation that perhaps maybe the Bears should have tried to move him. But the fact that he is still under contract, there's been some questions. One of the
Yeah.
questions I know that in conversations I've had with individuals is, can the Dennis Allen scheme help him? That's one of the questions.
Okay.
The other one is, does would you question his instincts? Do you consider him an instinctive player or just a player that just happens to be active?
Nah, I'll definitely lean more to the instinctive side, but we have to understand that the past defense he was a part of was such a passive defense, and he's just not built like that. I think he's built for a more aggressive style of football, and asking the guy to kind of like change his stripe, asking the zebra to change his stripes, you know what I'm saying, or a tiger to change his stripes, it's a little bit difficult, man.
See,
You have some now. You have some guys that can, cause and not listen. I don't want anybody in Chicago to come find me or do anything to me,
they
but
gonna come looking for you.
yeah, one of the greatest middle linebackers in the history of our team, and Brian Urlacher, struggled in his first season, those first couple of games, because he was asked to do something that he really couldn't do. Not that he couldn't do it, but that wasn't his strong suit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
Urlacher was a former safety, so he had safety instinct. So that cover two, was great for him. But when they asked him to be outside attacking linebacker, it just wasn't really him. He was good, but the middle linebacker position and what he was asked to do in that spot made him great.
See, you touched on something, D Nice, and I'm glad you touched on it because I've been saying for the past 2 seasons that he wasn't used properly. That's
Yeah,
just me. I understand everybody felt that Flus was this defensive guru guy, but let's be real. He was on his way out of Indiana when he happened to get the job here as the head coach. So I don't
yeah,
know how much of a guru he really was. Yes, did he have a top 10 defense at Indianapolis?
yeah.
Yes, he did. But in this particular defense that the scheme he was running here, the bend not break, I didn't think that really fit Tremaine's strong points as a linebacker in terms of how he was used when he was in New York. So
hmm
with that being said, man,
And see, not to cut you off,
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
and with that, a football player, especially a defensive football player, his instinct is to attack. You know, especially at that middle linebacker position. Now he has football pedigree. His dad played, all of his other brothers played, but I think
Yeah,
his other brothers were secondary players. I think safeties.
yeah, he was the bigger
And
of the brothers, so he ended up playing linebacker.
and I
Absolutely.
think I think Pops was probably a tight end. I could be wrong, but I think his dad was either tight end or defensive end. But he's a middle linebacker. And if you look at his size, he's 6'5",
Big for a middle
right?
linebacker.
Yeah, very big for a middle linebacker, a guy that can stand back there and block the sun. But if your instinct is not coverage, it's kind of difficult,
Yeah.
especially in that defense where, again, we wasn't getting a whole lot of pressure. The only time we was getting a whole lot of pressure is when we
Thank you.
blitz. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's a difficult thing that was a difficult environment for him to be in. I think this particular season he's gonna he's gonna earn the money and earn back his respect that a lot of people is trying to strip from him, saying that he's not who he is. I
But see,
think
you saying that means that you're leaning more toward that the Dennis Allen scheme is going to help him
yeah,
more than hurt him.
yeah, I
Okay.
think so. It just makes too much sense because this guy in Buffalo, he was a guy.
Yeah.
He was a guy, and you just don't come here and being a player like him, you don't come here and just lose it like that. Now I know his first year he dealt with some injuries.
Hmm.
He dealt with some injuries first season here, and we kind of got a shell of him that year. But it was a decent year, it just wasn't great. And
Right.
then at the same time, he's trying to fill the shoes of a guy like a Roquan Smith.
I mean, the guy averaged over 100 tackles a game. So, I mean, a season. So with that being said, I'm wondering, what are we looking for? I know fans want to see splash plays, and the question has been, where were the splash plays? And I'm assuming that they're equating splash plays to feeling that that $72 million contract should equate to splash plays as well as more productivity. I get it, but I think this scheme is going to help him more than hurt him as well. And then the question also has been, do, do does anyone think that this is going to be his last year? Could he potentially not be picked up, be traded at the end of once the season's over with? We have to wait and see how this season unfolds, of course. So, with that being said, those of you in the chat, chime in on this. What do you guys think about Tremaine Edmunds? Do you guys think Tremaine Edmunds um, can live up to his contract? I'm in agreement that I feel that he is underachieved when it comes to his contract, but I also say that the reason for the underachievement is because he just wasn't used properly when he was out on the field in Flus's defense. I strongly believe that Dennis Allen's scheme and how Dennis Allen moves pieces around is
Hmm.
going to really benefit Tremaine Edmunds. And I think Tremaine Edmunds is going to shine and have a breakout season in this defense.
Yeah, I listen. I might be with the minority with this. I mean, but I just think he's too good of a player to not have success in this new more aggressive style of defense.
I tell you one thing, D Nice, I guarantee you, uh, if he became available, a plethora of teams will be trying to get at him. So
Before the ink dry, before
okay,
the ink dry on his papers, yeah,
you know what
somebody
I'm
to
saying.
scoop him up real quick.
And to what you were saying also, which makes absolute sense. You don't forget how to play football.
Mm-mm.
But again, football is a scheme game, and every scheme doesn't fit every player. And I just think that with his size, his range, his speed, um, I believe that he just wasn't used properly. And I truly believe that Dennis Allen feels that he's going to get the best out of Tremaine Edmunds.
And people forget this guy came into the league, I believe, when he was 20 years old.
Yeah, he's still
He's still a
young.
very young guy. So
He, I think he
I
just
think
turned
I think
25, didn't he?
yeah, what hunts him more than anything is that he had to take he had to take the he had to fill the shoes of a Roquan Smith. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Everyone loved Roquan Smith, so did I. But the Bears decided to make a business decision, and they made the decision they made. Roquan went on to have a lot of success in Baltimore, and we got who we got because the Bears decided they weren't gonna pay $100 million for a middle linebacker. So
Well,
you
especially a
know,
middle linebacker who, and I hate to say it, Roquan got exposed this past season when they let Queen go because Roquan was asked to do a lot more in coverage, and that's not his forte. He's
not
a
his
down,
forte.
he's a downhill backer. Now he's a tackling machine,
Tackling machine,
but
tackling
if you
machine.
asking him to drop in the coverage, that's just not what he does.
It's not. It doesn't make him the great player that he is.
No, it doesn't.
So but having Roquan made a immediate impact when he came on with us, even though he started late. But game one, you knew he was on the field.
Yeah,
So and listen, Chicago fans, they love that type of stuff. And he didn't leave on a bad note as far as his play. He
no,
still left here and he still was on the top of his game. And for someone to come in and be less than that was going to look bad. Period.
you're right. You're absolutely
So
right.
I'll go out on the limb and say Tremaine Edmonds would be a Pro Bowler.
Woo. Okay. Let me write that down. Let me write that down. I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm gonna put a note on that. I'm gonna write that
Hey,
down right now. I'm writing that down right now.
hey, listen, and whoever, if you guys are, want to keep the receipts, hit the record button, man. Play it back to me later on. So I'm
All right. Well, I made that note, brother.
hey, I'm willing to stand on that, and I hope and we say this every week. The number one thing that I pray for this team, outside of anything else, is good health. I wish good health on everyone on this squad
Well, there's
because
two
that's.
things I'm gonna pray for when it comes to this defense.
Mhm.
One, good health. Two, defensive line must get penetration into the backfield. We have
Yeah,
to disrupt plays on the defensive line, which will make the linebacker's job that much easier. See, it's difficult as a linebacker when your defensive line is not being able to get the penetration and disruption that they're supposed to cause.
yeah,
Am I right or wrong?
absolutely right,
Okay.
absolutely right. Man,
Like I said, man,
man,
we're gonna have some fun tonight, man. But we're
hey,
gonna
man, look.
look. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Finish it out.
The defensive line is what ultimately is ultimately the engine of this thing, man. And for everyone to have anyone on the back end and those guys and linebackers, the middle linebackers, to have any success, it has to start up front. I'm interested in who's going to really show themselves come training camp on that defensive line.
Ooh,
But I'm
okay.
also interested in what you think and who you think is going to be is one of those guys that you know the Reaper's on the way for him as a Bears football player.
Ooh. I'm gonna say that for last.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that for last. So since you mentioned the defensive line, I was gonna go with another player in terms of the five players that is now or never. But since you brought up the defensive line, there's a guy that was drafted by the Chicago Bears whom many don't believe is still on the team and wondering how is he still on the team? How has this guy survived? And then his name was brought up by Ben Johnson as
Yeah.
someone as a kind of a shining star, I would
Yeah.
say, doing OTAs and mini camp. And that young man is the name goes by the name of Mr. Dominique Robinson.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's another one who is a now or never player. So with
Mm.
that being said, here's the questions that come along with Mr. Dominique Robinson. I'm gonna serve this up to you and I'm gonna pass it to you. Okay.
Okay.
First question is this: will he make the 53-man roster? And then here's the other
Hmm.
one.
Hmm.
Is it possible he can become the third edge rusher on this team? And
Okay.
more importantly, I'm now here. Here's I'm gonna shake it up a little bit and throw it on here, brother. Here's a little extra seasoning. Because Dennis Allen likes to move guys around, is it quite possible he could be used along the defensive line and other positions other than edge rusher? Now I'm gonna hand it off to you, brother. Go ahead and take it away.
Mm. Okay. Well, I'm gonna start in the middle. Would he be able to establish himself as a third pass rusher on his defensive line? I'm gonna say no to that. But I'm gonna tell you where I think he's going to get. He's going to make this team at, and he's going to get his chance to make this. He's going to get his chance to make this roster through the special teams.
Mm,
Coach Hightower,
do
um,
tell.
Da, and Dennis. I'm sorry, and Johnson have sung his praises on the special team side of it.
Really?
So, you know, from it, again, it's up to health. From an injury side, if any of these guys get injured, he may have an opportunity, but he's going to get his work done with this team, and he's going to make this team through special teams.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
so. I think so. Um, they love his size, and this guy has a lot of ability, though he hasn't shown it. On a a consistent enough basis. He has a lot of traits. He's an explosive guy.
Hmm.
This is a former skills player. You know that was brought in, that was transferred into a defensive lineman, a defensive end. You know, so he has a lot of ability. He just can't put it together and become a consistent player on the defensive line for us. But he's long, agile. Special teams is his niche.
Hmm.
And, this is what, year 3 for him?
Yes.
I don't see why he doesn't remain as a special teamer. Now, if he gets hurt during training camp or sometime before then he could be putting himself in jeopardy. But if he stays healthy and keeps his head down and works, I think he makes this squad as a special teamer. Now, some other guys that play D line that I have some concerns about, but this guy has been a success on the special teams, so I think he's safe
Okay. Now, I'm
for
assuming
now.
you for now. So here's my take on Dominique Robinson. First of all, I have to agree with you. Um, I'm not quite sure he can become the third edge rusher. However, I'm going to say this when it comes to him as an edge rusher. As you had mentioned, he used to be a former skill player, which was a lot of people don't know. This kid played quarterback, he's played tight end, he's played other
Wide
positions,
receiver.
wide receiver. Then he got, because of his size and his athleticism, they moved him to the defensive line as an edge rusher. One, he had to over the 3 seasons he's been here, if you've watched his transformation of just his body, now has what I would consider an edge rusher's body. He's put on
Mm-hmm.
the muscle mass and everything to really be able to be competitive as an edge rusher and deal with those offensive linemen and the chips and everything. Now, what we need to find out is, has he invested in his craft enough to where he's gone and gotten with some some different current with previous edge rushers who have helped him with developing certain moves that's going to help him as an edge rusher, because that's what he lacked. He really lacked that. He had zero moves. I mean, he literally was relying on
He's
complete
just raw.
athleticism to
Just
get
raw.
to the quarterback.
Yeah, he's
But
just raw.
we started, excuse me, we started noticing toward the end of last season an emergence from
Mm-hmm.
Dominique Robinson. So I think that he is turning that corner, and he has to be for Ben Johnson to kind of highlight the fact that he's like that shining star that was in minicamp. So I'm excited to see what Dominique puts out on the field during training camp. I'm with you. I think he does make the 53-man roster primarily because of special teams, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some ticks as an edge rusher. I mean, the guy that I think he'll end up maybe back in the dial, which is your guy.
Yeah, maybe, but I think it's so far away, and we're just
Yeah, and
having
we're
a
speculating.
conversation.
We're having fun with it
Yeah,
and
we're just having a
speculating.
conversation.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing the Bears can do is continue to search for guys that's had production in this league to bring in guys that's been successful in this league in certain positions. And pass rusher and defensive line as a whole is one of those things. I think because these young guys, these raw guys that the Bears pick, like a Dominique Robinson, he hasn't played the position long enough to really know the intricacies of how to become skilled at rushing the passer.
Hmm.
you know, and it's important that you have these veteran guys that come in and be able to show. Because right now it seems like it's the blind leading the blind. Montez Sweat is the only one that's had consistent success getting to the quarterback. Ayo Namebo, he's been a versatile guy playing with guys like Armstead and that crew over there in Indianapolis, that defensive line. But you know, if he can learn and be more of a technician, it can buy him a lot of time here. Because it's a long way between now and this time next year, and what he does in between those times is going to decide if we're still talking about him June in 26. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir.
you know, you got to root for the guy, but it
What
ultimately
was
is
he, a
up to
fifth
him.
or sixth round pick? He was a
He was a
a
he was a
late
fifth
round pick.
he was a
He was a
fifth
fifth round
round
pick,
pick.
wasn't
Yeah, Miami of Ohio.
he? Yeah, because he was picked right after Braxton, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, man, look, again, if Dennis Allen didn't think he could use the young man, I don't think the young man would be around now.
Well, we'll see. We'll definitely see because, and I think we're going to really get our answer during training camp.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's
Absolutely.
the time. That's the time when all the questions are answered. Guys begin to separate themselves during this time because they're putting quality tape up, and then you get into these games, and they're going to have extensive time in some of these preseason games to really do what they need to do to show if they belong. You know, so we'll see, man. But like I said, from today, as of today, I think he's safe because he's a special team player, a
Well, you
quality
know
one
what?
at that.
Yeah, and trust me, we've seen a many guys last a long time in this league as special team players. I mean,
Yeah.
we got one that everybody's questioning, how is he still on the team? And he's a running back, and that's in Travis Homer. So I mean, come on now, you know. But
Yeah.
again, but Travis Homer, you know, has proven himself throughout the years to be reliable and consistent as a special team player. So ain't nothing wrong. Look, there's three phases to this game, everybody. It's
Yeah.
offense, defense, special teams. Special teams is very intricate when it comes to playing football, field position and everything. So I'm not gonna poo-poo on the man for making the squad as a special teamer because he could very well become a star on the special teams.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
I'm
his
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to see what Dominique can put on the field during training camp as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important, you know, that we try to hold on to homegrown guys. Because a
Yeah,
lot of the most successful teams they do a great job of holding on to homegrown guys, meaning guys that they've drafted and brought in and
develop.
understand. But the problem with the Bears is that we had a culture issue for the last couple of years. So this thing, what we have going on now, is still fresh and new, and
You
it's
being
still
so
trying to.
nice.
The cement is still trying to dry on what's supposed to be happening here. So maybe he doesn't make it into he doesn't be here. He's not here when the cement finally dries. But you still want to keep your home. You want to try to keep your homegrown guys, especially if they're not costing you a lot of money. And at least until they phase themselves out.
Yeah,
Because eventually you're gonna have a guy with a little bit more ability than this guy, and we're not getting anything more than what we got for the last 4 years from just say a Dominique Robinson. Yeah, then it's time to move on because you got another guy that's showing more promise, and you can slide him over and slide the other guy out. You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, I'm with you.
yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna move along. That was Mr. Dominique Robinson. So, as I said, tonight's topic is five Bears players in make or break season in 2025. So we've already spoke on Tremaine Edmunds, and then we also spoke on Mr. Dominique Robinson. So the next player, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna shake it up a little bit. So we touched on linebacker, we touched on
D line.
D line, edge rusher. I'm gonna go offense. This is
Mm.
another guy was drafted. As we thought this guy was possibly going to be um, considered one of our offensive stars. But
Oh,
unfortunately, it seems like injuries has kind of derailed this young man to where it has placed him into a questionable space when it comes to our fan base. And that young man is Mr. Roschon Johnson.
ooh,
Um,
yeah.
and the question behind Roschon Johnson is one, first of all, my prayer for him is that he remains healthy and concussion free
Yes,
this
sir.
season.
Yes,
That's
sir.
first and foremost.
Yes, sir.
Because I watched the kid play when he was at Texas. I know the young man has the ability. And here's another young man who in high school was a star quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He wasn't a running back in high school, everybody. He was a star quarterback, converted to a running back when he got to the University of Texas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here's two questions for you when it comes to Mr. Roschon Johnson. Of course, we want him to stay healthy. So the first question is, can he be the number 2 running back in this offense? But more than likely, but more than that, is it very possible that he ends up being the number 3 back used for goal line and third downs only? Take it away, brother.
Well, the door of opportunity is usually the window, but I'm saying the door. The door of opportunity is open for him to cement himself as RB2. But do I believe he will? No. I listen. I support every guy that's in the Bears uniform, but I just think Roschon Johnson is just that. He's just a guy, and he's with a team that doesn't have a whole lot of greatness in this one position. So it makes him look better than what he really is. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
elaborate, please.
On top of the okay, like we don't have a room full of studs when it comes down to the running back position. Now we
Okay.
have two guys. We have two guys that we're very three or two and a half. We have two and a half guys that we're very hopeful about. Okay, that's Manungai, and that's the young man that tore his ACL last year,
Ian Wheeler.
uh, Wheeler. Okay, and then the half is Roschon Johnson. I say the half because we kind of know what we got in him, but he just hasn't played enough to build a resume strong enough for me to be just say with conviction that he's our guy.
Fair enough.
But and being that we have the two unknowns, this is a perfect situation for him to cement himself. But the
Hmm.
issue is when he gets rolling, he gets hurt. And when the position at the running back position, which is already an expendable position, if you're not a true stud, this could be his last year here. And I
Okay.
would not be surprised if that's the case because every April we have a new crew coming in and we got 6 rounds where we can pick a running back or two. 7 rounds, I'm sorry, where we can pick a running back or two that'll come in and be what we need them to be and stay injury free.
Okay.
So, I think Roschon has some work to do, and I wish him the best, but I don't think he's knocking. I don't think he's knocking pitches off the wall. You see what
Well,
I'm saying?
yeah, I see what you're saying, and I'm catching what you're throwing. But let's pause on that for a moment
Hmm.
and let's take a look at something here.
Okay,
One, we really don't know what this scheme is going to look like offensively. We have an idea
we have an
because
idea.
we have an
Yeah.
idea because uh, of, of what we've seen Ben Johnson put together
Mm-hmm.
at his previous stop. But let's look at the skill set of Roschon Johnson, along with the other running backs in the room,
Right.
and the mad scientist that we know that Ben Johnson can be. Is it quite possible where Roschon Johnson gets more ticks, not so much as carries, but being used coming out of the backfield, being able to catch the ball
Mm-hmm.
and do damage because of his size? And he's a load. We all know he's a load. And not many safeties want to deal with a cat like that coming downhill at them if he didn't call a quick little um a quick pass out the backfield, you know, 2-3 yards, and now he got to run and start, and he coming
Mm-hmm.
at you full steam,
Mm-hmm.
and this dude ain't afraid of contact. You know what I'm saying?
Not
You
at
know,
all.
he's not afraid of contact, and I don't see him, you know, changing his style of play because of the concussions that he's had. So imagine him on screenplays, man, where he's getting that football. Now here he come, and he coming right at you. I think that's how he's going to be used on top of goal line and third down situations. You know,
And I'm with,
even in fourth down situations, I think this guy can be a weapon for Ben Johnson.
and I'm with you. But
Uh-oh.
as great as a great as a as great of a mad scientist that Ben Johnson is, one thing I have never seen any great coach do
Uh-oh. I know where you're
is
going. I know where you're going.
is get something out of a guy that during game time he's dressed like you and I. Now, he may be dressed a little better than how we dress today, but he ain't in shoulder pads and
I
helmet and
don't know, brother. I'm
jersey.
a little fly myself, but
Okay,
anyway.
well, yeah. Well, dressed like you. I ain't seen no coach get nothing out of a guy
No, I'm with you. He got to stay
that's in
healthy. He got
that's
to
in
stay
street
healthy.
clothes.
No,
That
I'm with you.
and that even comes down to the greatest of guys that's ever played that position.
Hmm.
Health is pivotal,
Yeah.
you know. And he doesn't have just soft tissue things going on.
No,
Like he
it's
has
the
yes,
noggin,
absolutely. Yeah.
shoulder. I mean,
Yeah.
and it
And
comes from the way
that
he plays.
right, and with that, the injuries that he has, that he deals with, looking at the way he plays, because he's not going to even be close to the guy that we need if he has to change his style. So
Right.
when we talk Roschon Johnson, and I have nothing against him, and I've had conversations about him that people stood up 10 toes down to tell me how great of a guy he is as a player. I've yet to
To
see
see
it.
it. Right. Right. I'm with you. I mean, like I said, I saw it when he was at UT at University of Texas. It just hasn't translated to on
Yeah.
the field with the Chicago Bears. And right
If he
now,
played a if
we're
he
talking
played
about the
another
Chicago Bears.
position,
We ain't talking about the Texas Longhorns.
right. Now if he played another position, you know, he could probably get a little grace, but he plays a position that the NFL don't really value anyway. So that
Say
just
that
puts
again
him.
for the people in the back.
Listen, that running back position, the NFL does not give it a ton of value. Now,
No.
it had a resurgence last year. I don't care what nobody says. It had a resurgence, and it
The
made the
last two
NFL.
seasons, honestly, D
It
Nice. I
made the
mean,
NFL sit
the
back and
last two
scratch their
seasons.
head and say, "Hey,
What are we
you
doing?
know, what are
Yeah.
we doing?" You know, but in the grand scheme of things, the NFL don't really value the position. They feel like every guy. They feel like even the greatest guys are replaceable after a certain amount of time. So if you're not giving the production and you can't consistently get out here and dress out with us, how are we supposed to feel about you?
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear
why
you.
why why wouldn't we replace you?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
You
I'm
know
with
what I'm
you,
saying?
especially when there's guys that, when you got guys in the league that was undrafted free agents and and,
Yeah,
and they're doing their thing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
They now they are doing their thing. But again, it's gonna come down to this young man having to stay healthy, man. He's gonna have
yeah.
to stay healthy.
Because
Period.
the
Point
last thing
blank.
on
Period.
him, the last thing on him. Sorry to cut you off, but the last
No,
thing
you
on him,
good.
we got another guy from UTEP that has his size. You know, right in
That's
the
what I'm
same
saying,
building
man.
with him.
That's what I'm saying. This ain't finna be no easy. This ain't finna be no
Yeah,
man. Look at here. It's competition in that room too. There's
yeah.
competition in that room.
I think this could be Roschon's last year with us. I think
It's
so.
it's
Unless
possible.
he comes in and just move furniture around every step he take, this may be the last hurrah with us.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, we're gonna keep it moving again. Everybody out there in the chat, chime in. Let us know what your thoughts are on these players that we're discussing tonight. Again, tonight's topic is 5 Bears players in make or break 2025 season. So with that moving on, with that being said, I'm gonna move on to this other young man who, again, was drafted, seems to be a fan favorite, but he has everybody worried because this young man, once again, we're talking about injuries,
Yeah.
injuries, injuries, and we're talking about availability. And that young man is one of my favorite players on the team is Mr. Jaquan Brisker.
Mm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
hear me when I say he is one of my favorite players. I love how this kid plays. He is a throwback. This kid does not shy away from physicality. This young man does not shy away from putting the boom down, laying that wood. However, because of his style of play, many believe that is the reason why he has sustained the injuries in which he has sustained. And again, all of
Mhm.
his injuries too have not been the head,
Yeah.
shoulder. He's had some issues with the shoulder, you
Yeah.
know.
He's had some.
So
He's had a few things going with him.
yeah, he's had some nicks. But with that being said, here's a guy with I consider enormous upside.
Hmm.
But the question has now become, does he have enough upside? Question number one. Question number two, can he be a Pro Bowl player when healthy and play a full season? Again, health is key, but more importantly, here's the question that everybody's asking, and that's because another young man that was drafted with him in the second round has already been extended. The question is, would you take a chance and extend Jaquan Brisker for another 2 to 3 years? With that being said, I'm gonna hand that off to you, my brother.
Now, Quantity B, man, it's another guy that I was critical of this time last year. I think we did a show and we asked, which one of the guys were somewhat overrated. I can't remember the topic, and for me, it was Jaquan Brisker at that time.
Ooh.
But his play, well, I think overrated may be a little bit strong, but I think he left so much to be desired, you know, going at the end of that last year. But coming into this year, the games he played coming into this year was the guy that we wanted to see,
Mhm.
because he was literally everywhere. He still needs help, I think, from a coverage standpoint, because I think sometimes,
He
and it may
overplays.
not even be his coverage issue. It may be a issue of discipline, because sometimes he found himself wanting to make every play. But this coming into this year, he really jumped off the games he played. He jumped off the screen. He was everywhere, and he really embodied. that safety position, and he really, just really took personal what it meant to be a Chicago Bear playing that position.
Mm-hmm.
And even on to the hit that took him out took him out for the season. That's what we want. But we want him to be able to get up from that and
Yeah.
continue to play. You know what I mean? Would I take a chance on him? I don't know. Mainly because the issue he's dealing with is a real thing. And he cannot be who he needs to be for us if he has to change his style of play.
Well, he said in the interview he's not changing who he is and how he plays. He said he's been playing that way since he was 6 years old. So,
Absolutely.
so
And
I, I
so
I'm
with
not gonna
that,
question the man on that.
no. But with that, if the number's right, then we'll bring you back. But believe me, sir, you're going to have some competition. We got to have somebody to, be second fiddle to you if you end up, what I'm saying, unserviceable.
Mm-hmm.
You feel
Mm-hmm.
me?
Fair
And
enough.
that'll be the organization doing the right thing, by the team. They whatever they do by that player, like I said, you offer him, you know, but if he chooses not to take the offer you give him because of what he got going on, then you have no other choice but to move on. And just like you found him, you probably can find another one
But see, you
that's gonna
just
stay
threw the
healthy.
but you threw an operative word in there. You said
Yeah,
probably.
I did, but the Bears have found some pretty decent safeties, and what I'm saying. Even the other coaching staffs we have, we still end up finding decent safeties. Now, how long they be decent, but we had some flash in the pan safety guys that come play for us and do
Okay.
pretty well.
So with that being said, since you opened that door, I'm gonna take a step into this door.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another guy that I think can really benefit from Dennis Allen's defensive scheme and how he
Yeah.
moved guys around.
Mm-hmm.
I think this can really help Jaquan Brisker shine because I think he and a guy that we spoke about at the top of the show, Tremaine Edmunds, can kind of play off of one another in terms of how Dennis Allen moved guys around and the scheme and the aggressive scheme that he employs. I
Mm-hmm.
really believe that those two guys, more than anybody else in this defense, along with Kyler Gordon, but he's not part of this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
can benefit from Dennis Allen's scheme. What say you?
I mean, I can agree with that, but let me ask you this to counter that. Do you like Brisker's play closer to the line or back on the back end away from the line?
See, that's a hard question for me.
Because to
That's
me,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
to me, he's best when he's playing closer to the line of scrimmage.
Okay. And see, I'm glad you said it because what I was going to say is, for me, it's kind of difficult to really say because I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't a fan of Flus's defense, y'all. I'm just gonna be honest. I was not a fan of his defense. I hate the bend or break defense.
Mm-hmm.
My days of playing aggressive style, we wasn't none of that, a lot of man press, which again, what Dennis Allen likes to do. Um, and even when he plays zone, I to answer your question, I don't want to get off topic.
Mm-mm.
To answer your question, do I think he plays better closer to the line or away? I agree with you on that. I think he'll benefit more playing closer to the line, being more involved in the run in stopping the run, but more importantly, um, short passes with tight ends. Um, so yeah, closer to the line for Jaquan Brisker.
Because remember the year I think he led us in sacks.
That was
His
his
rookie season, if
rookie
I'm not
season.
mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rookie season when he was in the box a lot.
He's definitely a see ball, get ball guy.
Yes.
And he's coming with his hair on fire.
Well, that's Mike. That's how Mike. The reason I say he's a throwback because he reminds me so
Hmm.
much of Mike Brown, who, again, unfortunately, injuries ended his career. I don't want that for Jaquan,
Mm-mm.
and that's what I'm saying. Health is key for him, but
Hmm.
having him in that box, yeah, yeah.
This is, but when we decide on extending him, these are the things that have to
Well,
be talked
that's
about.
going to determine
It
that
has
bag.
to. It has to.
That's going to
It
determine that
determines the
number. Yeah,
bag. I mean, because either way, we have to put some. We have to draft your successor, bro. And it's nothing against you. We have to draft your successor because with what you're dealing with, not saying that his absence led to the fact that teams were able to run down our throat, but it hurt because
tremendously.
we didn't have the adequate guys that can play like him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we would have to bring someone else, regardless of if you sign what we offer. You know what I mean?
Right.
But listen, Brisker is a guy very confident in his abilities, and something tells me, as much as he loves to be a Chicago Bear, with what Poles and company will offer him, he'll feel like he can get more somewhere else.
I don't know, man. I honestly think I really think that Poles and Company is going to be fair to him, and I think he's going to look at it from a business standpoint and probably feel that what he's offered, I think they're going to offer him more than fair. I really do. I think the front office, um, I think the front office likes him a lot. He's already been playing with his hair on fire in mini camp. He's been
Hmm.
got into a couple skirmishes,
That's
skirmishes,
what we
whatever.
want. That's what we want.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And we're talking about OTAs and mini camp, and he already ruffling some feathers. So we need that because we need some attitude, man. Let's keep it a buck, man. We need some dogs, man. We need some cats, man, that don't mind roughing it up and doing some damage, man. So that's
Yeah.
definitely Quani, man. But
Yeah. He's a
I
guy
I,
that he's
I
definitely
think he can get paid, man. You know,
even even though he didn't play a lot last year, he's definitely taking things personal.
oh yeah, and he
And
was
that's
missed. He
like
was
you
sorely
said,
missed too.
that's the type of attitude we need in the locker room and especially on the field. You know, we've been missing it, man. Like even Khalil Mack, as great as he was, as great as the time he had here in Chicago, he didn't bring a lot of attitude. Mack was cool, man. Mack was cool. Mack was laid back. Mack was a player, man. You know what I mean? Mack had a player attitude, man. You
Right,
know what I
right,
mean?
right. Like, yo,
Like,
I'm gonna do mine. I'm gonna get to it. It's all good,
yeah, he was too cool. So we need somebody that's gonna kick in the door, man.
man.
And
Look, man, I'm gonna keep it real, bro. I want somebody that's coming to take somebody's lunch money, man.
yeah,
I'm taking your lunch money. Matter of fact, give me your lunch money. I want your sugar cookies. And you got some of that. You got some of that lunchroom pizza. I want your pizza too. Give me all of it.
yeah, I need that. I need that. Like, it's some guys that's talking the talk, and I think Grady Jarrett is going to bring, some of that
Bring
to
the
the table as
attitude.
well.
Yeah,
Not to get too far off the topic, but I think Grady is a guy because he is that. Grady likes to mix it up in the middle, and he likes to talk, let you know about it as well. So that, and I think more than his ability, I think that's another reason why he signed him. Because you got a guy that's vocal and gonna get into it and let guys know, like, listen, I'm coming for it. You know what I mean?
yeah. I'm with you.
And we just had an identity of cool guys. You know what I mean? So I listen. The more guys we have like that, and if their play can match how much they talk, we gonna be in business.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right. Well, guess what? We got one more player to talk about. And again,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about 5 Bears players in make or break 2025 season. Now, this guy here, um, again, drafted by the Chicago Bears.
Mm,
This guy here was making a pretty good name for himself.
mm.
Um, Good, and then turn around and the name that he started making for himself was pretty doggone bad, to the point where you had a lot of the fans saying, "Get rid of him."
Mm.
He's a I've heard words associated with this young man as cancer
Ooh. Yeah.
and undisciplined.
Yep.
And needless to say, I'm gonna be honest. I was extremely pissed at this young man
Mm-hmm.
against the Washington Commanders. Everybody know who I'm going with. Everybody know what I'm finna who name I'm finna throw out there. Mr.
Yes,
Tyrique
indeed.
Stevenson. Now,
Reek Stevenson.
yes, Reek Stevenson. I mean, to the point where his name was first, if not the second name mentioned when they started bringing in this new coaching staff. Uh, his name was probably mentioned before Caleb's name was, with regard to uh, the coaches that we brought on.
Uh-huh.
And when Al Harris was named as the defensive backs coach, you heard a lot of oohs and ahs, like, what does this mean for the defensive
Mm-hmm.
backfield, especially for the players, primarily Tyrique Stevens, because we all know Al Harris don't play no games. He's all about ball. He's all about discipline. Um, so here's 2 questions for you when it comes to Mr. Reek Stevenson. First question is, does he have to earn a job, or is he opposite JJ? But more importantly, does he fit the press man scheme that Dennis Allen likes to play? And if so, is he also a player that's going to benefit from this defensive scheme? Now I'm gonna pass this one to you. I can't hand this one off to you. I'm passing this one to you, brother. Because we're talking about a defensive back. We're talking about a corner. So I'm
Yep.
gonna pass this one to you, brother. And this one I'm gonna pass it deep and see if you can catch this one, brother.
Yeah. I got it. As far as Tyree Stevens is concerned, he will be a bear on the opposite side of Jalen Johnson. Also, I think I would advise everyone in this coming season to put that mishap that happened in Washington, put it behind you. Go on and lay it up under put it under the grill and put some charcoal over it and burn it. Let it go.
You think
I mean,
so?
because his teammates that were there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, the new regime when they came in wasn't even thought about, and we can eat. Listen, the season went so that the actions of Tyree Stevenson was so egregious that we blame the whole season on him, pretty much,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that man it had nothing to do with the fact that we was super inconsistent on the offensive end and we couldn't stop a nosebleed in the run game.
Ooh.
Okay? But we circled this moment that this young man had. You know, when that young man got the interception, pick six to win the football game for us against Tennessee, that was him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That man celebrated that moment, and the people and Bears fans celebrated that moment for 3 days, and it was never spoken of again.
Right.
But this collapse in Washington is still spoke about.
brother.
And
Yes,
the
yes.
season is anew.
That was what, game 5 too, right? That was
Uh
game 5, boss. That was game
game
5. Game 4. Game 4 or 5.
No, game 6 or 7, because I think we were four
Was
and
it?
two going in. I think we were 4-2 going in there.
Right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
I
You're
think it's
right. I
game.
stand corrected. I
So from
stand
week
corrected.
seven, from week 7 to now, it still stings most people.
Woo.
So
Brother,
I would
look.
advise for the people that this still does damage to is to find closure. Take that situation. It's the summertime. The grills go up in the summertime. Pour some
You,
chocolate over it.
you know what's so funny, D Nice?
Light it on
The
fire.
fact that
Let
you
it,
brought it up.
it's over.
What's so funny, man? I was at the cigar lounge a few weeks back and talking with some guys, and one of the other guys was a Bears fan also, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we chopped it up talking football, man. And that play became topic of the conversation. I'm like, come on, man, can we let that go, man?
Yeah.
You know, but the
You got to
funny
roll
thing
it
was,
up.
the funny thing was, the other Chicago Bear fan was so upset about it. But the other guys, one guy was a Cowboy fan, and the other guy was a Saints fan. Both those
Mm.
guys were like, "Well, if y'all don't want them, we'll take them."
Yeah. And I can name you about 10 more teams that feel the same way.
Come on now, come on, yeah.
Listen, at some point, man, and listen, we have enough depth in that secondary. So if we did trade him away, I don't think we'll lose much from a a player standpoint. But Tyrique Stevenson has intangibles that I don't think any other Bear in that secondary has. And that goes for
I'm
defense.
Now I'm gonna let you finish that, and I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna let you finish that, but I'm gonna tell you. I think we do have one young man that has the same intangibles. We just have to see how it's all gonna play out. And that's Zay Frazier.
Okay. I thought you would
That
say
young,
a guy like Terrell Smith, but yeah. With Zach Frazier, we have to see
right? I
him in
mean, you still got to
action.
put
Like,
it on the field. We
yeah,
still got to see it on the field. So
but just
we
well,
know
I'm
what
really,
Reek can do.
yeah, I'm really basing it off the guys that's been there, like guys like Terrell Smith. Because I think from a player, I think as a player, I think Terrell Smith, as far from a technique standpoint, he's just as good as Tyrique
Hmm.
Stevenson. But from a intangible things that you can't teach, just that dog and that aggressiveness, that aggression. I don't even think Jalen Johnson has that Tyreek has. And that doesn't make Tyreek a better corner than Jalen, but he's a different type of guy. I don't think it's many from a technique standpoint. I don't think that there's many cornerbacks in the league that have the technical skills that a Jalen Johnson has. But
No, I'm with
he's a cool guy.
yeah.
Like Tyreek is a real disruptor, even though, and it costs him sometimes, but I think with Al Harris and the rest of his defensive coaching staff, it's going to teach him how to hone that in and create a control rage that's going to definitely make him a better corner.
I'm with you. Hey, before we continue on, D Nice, uh, let's remind the fans, all those that's watching us right now, all of our followers, that we got something special going on, brother, and that's the jersey giveaway. So won't you
Yes,
put
indeed.
that up, man? Let them know what that entails, brother, if you don't mind.
Will do. And shout out to Jay, just our first annual contest, the jersey giveaway. shout out to James. He's a Chicago sports bias. Excuse me, Chicago, a very intricate guy, and he's part of this family, man. So shout out to him for being
I'm
his
getting some
first winner.
feedback on your mic, brother.
I, I, I'm trying to find the jersey. I can't find it. I'm looking for it.
Check your mic too, brother. Check your mic. Getting a lot of static on your mic, brother.
Too. I don't think I don't think I didn't think it was me. I think it was me. How about now? It's the same thing.
So everybody
Can you
that's
hear
out
me?
there, yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. So everybody out there, as you guys know, we did a jersey giveaway. Our man James Childress was the first recipient of our Chicago Bears jersey, and we're going to be giving away another one. All we ask is that you guys continue to chime in, subscribe, help us reach our next plateau. We're on the move. We're trying to get to 4,000 followers. So help us get there, please. And the only way for us to get there is, again, you guys continue to smash that like button, but more importantly, share the content and have yourself along with others subscribe. Please do that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the content in which we do is solely for you. We enjoy just talking about Bears football, but again, there would be no us without you. And because of that, we want to show our appreciation by giving away another jersey. So, James, I'm glad you love that jersey. It looks good on you, by the way, brother. I want you to
Yeah,
know
I
that
wish we
jersey
had
looks
the.
real good on
I
you.
wish we had the picture of him in the jersey.
Yeah. Me too, but we're definitely going to be giving away another jersey. So please just continue to like and subscribe to content. Continue to
Mm-hmm.
follow us. Continue to chime in. And again, like I said, we want you guys to be active. Get active in that chat, man. Trust me, you guys help us with the content. And you guys fuel us along. So, and we are all family. So definitely, just continue to follow us, subscribe, but more importantly, share this content and smash that like button, because we are approaching the 2025 season. It is just around the corner.
Yes,
Just around the
indeed.
corner. So, with that being said, we've basically covered the 5 players that are in a now or never status, according to our fan base for this season 2025 with the Chicago Bears. And at the top of the show, D Nice asked me a question. And the question was, who is the Reaper coming to get on this team? Now, we're talking about the entire team, but I'm going to hone in on the 5 players that we talked about. And who do I think the Reaper has the potential to come and get? And that person, to me, is Roschon Johnson. I
Mm.
think that the Reaper could come in and get him, because that running back room, there's some competition in there. Many people have forgotten what Ian Willard looked like. Go
Hmm.
back and pull some film on that young man, some highlights on that young man. You'll understand why we keep mentioning this young man's name. I truly believe, had he not gotten hurt last season in training camp, he would have helped our team tremendously in the running game.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got to see how he bounces back from this injury. I haven't heard anything negative out of mini camp or OTAs. Have you, D Nice?
No, 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 not yet. I mean, we're slowly approaching. I think we have a little less than a month left.
So we'll know, right? Matter of fact, um, they released the dates for training camp. Tickets go on sale Well, and the tickets are free, by the way, everybody, for training camp. So they say the tickets go on sale, but essentially the tickets become available. I want to say around July 19th, those tickets become available for training camp. Um, I myself, although I'm here in Texas, I'm going to see if I can't possibly grab me a couple tickets for the when they practice against the Buffalo Bills.
Nice.
You know,
That'd be cool.
I would love to see them practice against the Buffalo Bills and then end up at and then they play at Soldier Fields that Sunday, which I believe is the 17th of
Mm,
August. So and the training camp date is the 15th of August. So that would be available. And again, they will be competing against they'll be practicing against the Buffalo Bills.
yeah, I mean,
So
I,
you gonna try to catch? I know you. I know you in Georgia, brother. You gonna try to get up for a training camp?
yeah, I'm, I'm, I'm thinking about heading that way for training camp. I know some of it's gonna be closed to the media. I mean, closed to everybody. But I think I'm gonna try my best to get in to a couple of sessions. Buy tickets so I can get in there, man. That'd be real cool. Um, woo, getting closer, man. Getting closer. I'm excited,
It
man.
is, man. Me
I'm
too, brother.
excited.
Me too.
You know,
I'm really trying to harness it, man. I really am, cause man. Look, I'm ready, bro. I'm so ready.
yeah.
If I could literally, if I could go to Chicago and stay the entire month of August, I would.
Mm, yeah, that's when it's happening too.
I
That's when
would, brother.
it's definitely
I would
happening.
go and hang out for the entire month of August, man. Hit some training camp dates, man, and just really take in the vibe that's going to be in
Hmm.
Chicago when training camp opens up, man. Because I don't care what nobody says, man. One thing about Chicago, man, is first of all, it is the best sports town in the country. That's my own
Agreed.
opinion, and I
Agreed.
might be a little biased because I'm from Chicago, but I've had other people who have attended games in
Hmm.
Chicago, whether it was Bears games, Bulls games, you know,
Whatever.
baseball games, whatever. When it comes to
Hmm.
sports, there are no fans like Chicago fans. First of all, we're diehard loyalists, you know, but
Yeah.
it's something about when football season is in the air. You can smell that on top of the rib tips, the chicken wings, the Italian beefs, and everything else.
Yep.
But
And
ain't
it.
nothing like Chicago Bear football.
That's
And
it.
training camp is what gets things percolating.
Yep.
And the vibe in the city during training camp season is amazing. So uh,
Unmatched, man.
it is. So I'm really trying to find a way to at least get me 10 days or more in Chicago in the month of August, man, just to get that vibe, man, of nothing else. You know what I'm saying? I really am. But I'm excited, man. I really am. I'm excited about what we have in terms of a team. You know, we've been talking about this the entire offseason, man. The fact that actually have a real coaching staff with some real notable coaches, man. That's all about accountability, man. That's all about building culture. Um, you said at the top of the show, you know, we didn't have a culture, and we didn't. You know, um, but I think this season is going to. I'm not even going to say surprise some people because I myself personally, when I look at the teams in the division, and I'm going to touch on your show from last night when you guys were talking, you had mentioned about um, the Packers, the fact
Hmm.
that their coaching staff has continuity. And
Hmm.
and as a team, as an organization, they've always drafted well. They know who they are, they understand their identity, and they draft to their identity. So I don't know if they're going to necessarily have any drop off because of a couple moves that's transpired on their team in terms of players that they might have lost. Minnesota, again, another coaching staff that has continuity, but they have, you might want to say, a rookie quarterback. So that's going
Yeah.
to be some adjustments needed to be made on their behalf, some learning curves and everything that's going to take place because of the quarterback situation.
Yep.
You know, and then of course we had Detroit. Now,
Yep.
that's the team that I think everybody think is still going to be at the top of the division. I
Yep.
myself, I think they're going to take a, a major step back because they lost two key coordinators along with other members of their coaching staff. That's hard to replace. You know, that's very hard to replace. Not to say that they can't, but I think Detroit may end up Detroiting again. And what do I
Well,
mean by that? They do well for the first 8, 9 games of the season, and the rest of the season, they,
hmm
it don't look so pretty.
yeah, it's going to be a thing on how this how these guys fit in this new philosophy. And if they're smart, they're gonna this philosophy fits the guys that's there because normally when you changing like that, you got to change players too because what you trying to implement, maybe these guys are not. It's not really their strong side. So, we'll see. Listen, man. You know, I'm with us wherever, and I know we got our own thing that we have to develop. With a whole new head coach and a whole new staff. But what I was getting at when I was saying is that none of the teams in our division are perfect. I think Green Bay has, from a coaching standpoint and personnel, they ain't lost as much as everyone else, compared to everyone else in the
And
division. But
let's being honest and fair, bro.
yeah, but even at our worst, we were still on their heels. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes,
we
yes.
end up beating them.
And I think
So
and as much as people want to downplay that game, and people say, "Oh well, you had some fans that hated that we won the game. Yeah, we shouldn't have won that game," and all of that. Let me say this, man. I truly believe that that game is going to carry some momentum into this season.
as it should.
You know, I really do. Although we had all new coaching staff and everything but I still believe for that locker room, they needed the belief that they can beat that team.
Yeah.
And they did it, and like you said, at our worst. So now that we have the complete buy-in of the players, I think only sky's the limit.
Yep. But the great thing about it is that we got to play the games.
Yeah. Now
You
I
know.
got this for you before we get up out of here. So this is my thought about how the season can play out and how I have us at what 10-6, 10-7. I have us with 10 wins.
hmm
I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up splitting within the division with two, if not three, of the teams,
Mm.
and we're going to win both games against one of the other teams to allow us to be able. If we don't win the division, which I think we can win the division, but I believe we're going to do enough to where we will be a playoff team,
Mm.
barring any serious injuries. I think we have enough on paper in terms of personnel, especially what we have in terms of our coaching staff, to where we can contend for winning the division, but more importantly, be a playoff team. That's my prediction for the season. Um, a lot of things. There's a lot of components to it that's going to have to fall into place for that to really happen. Key thing is health. Um, Second is the buy-in with the players. They're bought in now. Are they going to be bought in even more when training camp? Because this is when the coaches are really going to start coaching.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you think these guys are getting coached hard in mini camp and OTAs, oh, just wait and see what training camp going to be like.
Yeah.
Okay,
When under that
so
helmet,
yeah.
it's about 100 degrees under the
But
helmet.
more importantly, man, now you got the pads on, man. Now
That's
you
what I'm
smacking each
saying.
other. Now you
Yeah.
smacking each other. You know what I'm saying? So it's finna get it's again. This is the perfect time of the year, man.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait, man. I just cannot wait.
Yeah.
You know,
Look, man, it's a lot to be excited about. Like you said, health is before any whistle, health is the one thing I'm praying for. You know what I mean? Outside of anything else, because I believe this team, when healthy, can take care of everything, any other concerns that we have.
I really
Not
do.
saying,
I do too.
not saying that we're going to go undefeated and sweep the division, anything like that, but I feel better knowing week to week we have the healthiest team coming out on the field.
Yeah.
Because usually that's the team that ends up playing to the end.
Well, I think what's going to also play into that too, D Nice, is this. Right now, because this is vacation time for everybody, for all the players. So now's the time to get their minds right, but more importantly, invest in their bodies, making sure that they're getting doing their stretching, yoga, everything that they need to make
Hmm.
sure that they can be healthy and make it through training camp. I think
Yeah,
if we can make it through training camp and start the season with little to no injuries is going to be key for how the first 6 games of this season is going to play out. Also, I strongly believe that we're going to need guys to get reps during preseason, especially on the offensive side of the ball. We need
absolutely.
guys to get reps, man. We're going to need Caleb, the receivers, everybody got to get some reps.
Everybody, everybody, because in the past, man, I remember when we had Mitch Trubisky, and it was like, oh, he's only gonna play a game and a half in the preseason, and I'm like, Pat Mahomes coming out here every week, but he get to sit down. Help me out,
Yeah, I'm with you.
like guys like um Josh Allen. These guys are playing every week. Our new quarterback does not need to sit down.
No, no, he's got to get out there. So and the offensive line really needs it. You know what I'm saying? And they need it
Yes,
with him under center. They need it with him under center. You know,
yes,
so I want to see the first unit at least play a quarter and a half, if not an entire half
yeah, and
each. At least the first 2 games of the preseason, and if you go into the third game of the preseason and they only run a quarter, I'm cool with that.
yeah,
I'm cool with that. But anything less than that, I don't think is wise. I don't
yeah,
think that, because you and I both know through repetition is the only way that they're going to get better and get that chemistry down. So that's going to
yeah.
be key, man. Really,
Listen, training camp is gonna tell a whole lot about this coach before this season starts. Before we play a game against another opponent, training camp is gonna tell me a lot about our coach. If he handles training camp and handles the preseason like these other coaches have, regardless of how great he is schematically, he won't be no different than the guys that came and went.
ooh, that's saying a
And
lot.
I listen, and people may call me. Listen, I've been called worse, but I listen. That part of it has to change. We're not coddling or babying guys because of politics. The offense started out, and I mentioned this yesterday. The offense started out incredibly slow.
Yes, yes.
And it was a pattern of that even going to prior years. The offense start with this slow start is because we're not getting the proper game reps when that when there's really nothing on the line. But from a detail standpoint and from a repetition standpoint, these young players, like this is not a team full of vets.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
These
right.
are young guys. You know what I'm saying? And they need every bit of game experience. You know what I mean? Because practice is practice, bro. But when you get out there against someone different, it's different. The environment is different.
Hmm.
You know? And of course, hey, you might not be playing against no guys going balls to the wall because you know they only playing a quarter, but the guys that's coming in behind them, those are the guys that's playing balls to the wall because they're trying to earn a check, they're trying to earn a spot, and they're trying to live their dream. So we need to feel that competition. Our first team offense needs to feel that. And needs to get on out there and play 2-3 quarters, man. Both
Well,
of the
I
games.
I know one thing for sure: the offensive line definitely needs it, brother. You
Yes.
know, they're gonna need as much run as they can get. You know, to get that continuity down, get that timing down, so that Caleb can get his cadences down and get comfortable being under center. You know, they got to, and this is the only way that I think they can truly develop their run blocking scheme, which is going to help open things up for the pass. So that's going to
And,
be key.
and speaking of that O line, that's our most veteran group.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. You're right.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. You are
Yeah, now
absolutely
with
right.
the acquisitions that we have, like
Yeah,
that's our most veteran laden group.
yeah, you're right, dog. Okay, so yeah, I mean, hey, we are literally um 3 weeks away. Um, rookies report on the 19th, veterans report on the 22nd of July. The start of training camp at Hallis Hall. All I can say is get ready, y'all. Football
It's
is
on the
around
way.
the corner, and we talking about our Chicago Bears. So, with that being said, everybody, we want to thank you all very much for checking in with us and staying tuned in with us. Well past an hour tonight. Um, we want to once again thank Mr. James Childress, one of our faithfuls. Again, like I said, James, that jersey looked great on you. I'm gonna
Yes,
give some
sir.
pleasantries to some individuals who I know don't never show up in the chat, but I know that they're out there watching, and I'm gonna turn it over to my man D Nice, and he can escort us up on out of here. But I want to give a shout out to all of Chicago Bears fans that's out there. Whether you're watching us on YouTube, whether you're watching us on X, or whether you're watching us on Facebook, thank you. Again, thank you. I want to give a shout out to um, a very special person in my life. Rita, thank you so much for watching, as always. My sister Felicia, my brother V Dub out there in Detroit. He live in Detroit and can't stand the Lions. He call them Lioness. But more importantly, and I'm with him on that. And I told him I'm more than happy to show up in Detroit and heckle some of them Lioness fans as well. You know. But more importantly, I want to thank Trax for allowing us to have this platform so that we can, share our thoughts, our feelings, our fandom for our Chicago Bears. Um, More importantly, I just want to thank everybody that's a part of the Chicago Sports Podcast family. Um, you all know who you are. There's no way I can go down each and every name. I'll leave that to my man D Nice. But more importantly, I just want to say thank you to everybody. But more importantly, um, there's a few tragedies that took place in Chicago past weekend with regard to um, accidents that happened out on the lake. We want to pray for those families um, who lost loved ones. But more importantly, let's just keep our nation in prayers
Yeah.
um, as we're going through some pretty tough times as well, as a nation, as a country, um, as well as more importantly, um, you know, let's just keep the world in prayer.
Hmm.
Because as we're seeing, guys, um, no one's no one's guaranteed to be here tomorrow. So with that being said, before I hand it over to D Nice, I'm gonna say this to everybody: we are blessed to be a blessing. Um, recognize your purpose, walk and live in your purpose. With that being said, I'm gonna pass it to my man D Nice. Peace and love to everybody, and I'll see you guys next Thursday night.
Right on, right on. Hey man, I'm gonna do just like you did. Shout out to everybody that checked us out tonight, who rocking with us. Shout out to the Chicago Sports Podcast family. Tracks, get well soon, brother. You know what I'm saying? Try to beat the heat, man. Listen, it's the end of June, it's beginning of July. Everybody, please stay hydrated. If you can find a cool spot, please do. If you're working out there in the heat, please do what's necessary to keep yourself hydrated. Be safe out there. When it comes down to this country, hey, listen, we are all Americans at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of who we root for, show much love, support to everyone. You know what I'm saying? And hug your loved ones, man. I don't know when the last time you told someone you love them, but if you got somebody in particular that's been on your mind, give them a call, because tomorrow's not promised to anybody.
Mm.
All right. Listen, we all human beings. You know what I'm saying? And things don't go our way sometimes, but we have to appreciate what we have and who we have with, you know what I'm saying, and who we had it with. Appreciate it. A wise man once said, appreciate the present because it's a gift. So with that being said, one love to everybody. Have a safe weekend, and we will see you guys next week. Peace up and bear down.
Bear down. We'll holler.